liberty, and justice for all.
Amen.
Roll call, if you would, please.
Okay. Supervisor Barlow.
I'm here.
Trustees. Macredo.
Here.
Yeager.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Bendenagel. Bendenagel absent. It's all yours.
Okay, the second item on the list is any public comment. Don't think we really have any. If you want to introduce yourself,
I'm
Scott.
Scott Friend. I'm a trustee up in Mchenry Township, and I just wanted to come and visit and see what you guys deal with.
Yeah, pretty calm lately.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'd like to make a motion to move new business 8.2, the City of McHenry presentation of the downtown TIF district, up to right now. So I'll make that motion.
I'll
Do I have a
second it. I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So it's your show.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me this evening. Again, my name is Bill Hobson. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation with the City of McHenry. I'm also our downtown TIF administrator. I formerly was our Deputy City Administrator and just through some changing roles. The TIF, the downtown has stayed with me, and our TIF district has stayed with me. I'll go through a PowerPoint presentation that I put together. Some slides I might skip through a little faster. I'm not going to read through it verbatim.
Sure.
I'll give you some in respect of your time, but thank you for the opportunity to at least meet before you tonight and go through this.
Before you start,
Sure.
I'm not sure if everybody on the board knows, I invited him in so that we can educate ourselves on what TIF districts are all about, and that's why he's here this evening.
Yep. That's I had reached out. We're in the process,
Yep.
and that's what we're in the process of attempting to extend it. Which let's get right into that.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with what a TIF district is, it's a tax increment financing district. And so what happens, not more or less, is what happens is you define a region, and in McHenry we basically centered that around the Green Street and Riverside Drive area, and then you dedicate that region. At that point, for us it was in 2002, you freeze the taxes that the township and school districts, the county, the conservation district, and all the external taxing bodies receive. Those taxes continue to escalate as they would beyond that 2002 level as assessments happen. They can also go down, and there's a good part. That's part of why I'm in front of you, is because they have gone down for a long time. But as they escalate, the difference between that 2002 level and the amount that you would typically get goes into a fund, and that fund is dedicated for public improvements within that downtown area. That's the best way to try to describe it. It really is a tool for us as a city to be able to use to turn blighted areas that weren't receiving attention, areas that had stagnated. For example, a prime example for us was the old hospital, the downtown McHenry Hospital. The new hospital had been built at that point, Integra had been built, and you had basically a vacant hospital that was downtown that had a medical office or two in there, but it wasn't really being utilized, and there wasn't a potential for it to be utilized. But it's hard for a developer to come in and say, all right, well, I need public parking, or I need sewers, or I need sidewalks. It has to be any benefit that they receive from the city has to come from, has to be some public benefit to that. We can't say, all right, we're going to give you, $1 million and you can build your building. That's not how it happens. It has to be tied to a public improvement. Again, ours was established in 2002. TIFs have a lifespan of 23 years. So that means ours will expire in April 2025. You can ask, in the state of Illinois, you can ask for a one-time 12-year extension to that. This is all done through state legislature. When it was created in 2002, we went to each of the taxing bodies. We got your approval to be able to do this. It really is a partnership. And I say it's a partnership because while you trust us to forego some tax money right now, but knowing that in the end, through development, you're going to receive tenfold of tax dollars. And that's basically how it happens. You suspend from 2002 until the end, and I'll have an example a little bit later on, but the idea is that the area that wouldn't have redeveloped when you had a vacant theater, or you had, or like I said, the old hospital, parcels like that, that weren't doing anything and probably wouldn't do anything without some assistance. Now you've kind of seen our downtown start to take life again. As I said, this is the boundaries of the TIF. You can just, this is Green Street, Riverside Drive. Here's Pearl Street right here, so you can get a better idea. Boone Creek, and then the Fox River. This is the old Central Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is East Campus High School, just for some.
When you say the old waste, is that one going defunct? Or are you keeping that?
We decommissioned it.
Decommissioned. That's
We tore up all the infrastructure that was there. It's raw land right now.
okay.
It is a parcel that's key for redevelopment, and again, one of the reasons why I'm before you, because
Sure.
we are talking to a couple developers who are interested in doing that, but in order for us to do that, we need to gain some advantages of time.
Yeah.
When we were developing our TIF district, we put together a master plan for our downtown. It really was a guideline for us to say, all right, you're asking for us to suspend these taxes, but what's the plan behind it? What's the backbone behind it? We're not just going to say, hey, here you go. And that's where we came up with the downtown plan that was submitted as part of that. It was actually in conjunction with the TIF district. Sorry about that. Like I said, it was our guide for downtown improvements. These are the ones that I don't need to read to. This is why we established it. Really, again, it was that blueprint for us to move forward with our downtown. We did so with basically 9 objectives in hand. Again, the bottom line is redevelopment of a downtown in an area that was stagnant back in 2002. As I talked about, the redevelopment is the goal, and when we looked at the redevelopment sites, this plan was back from 2002 again, and there are some examples that are coming up that show some of these sites. These aren't exactly what's going to happen, but when you look at key redevelopment sites, the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant is a huge one. We did have a developer approach us 2 years ago that had I think it was like a 500-unit apartment building, 4 stories that we didn't feel was the right fit for us at that point. It was just the density was too much. But when you look at different sites, Miller Point here has now, the city has bought that. It used to be the old Dobbins house. We bought that and turned it into a park. It's been a key spot for us to have some festivals and things downtown, like Shamrock's the Fox has been extremely successful in bringing people downtown. That's the goal, is to bring people downtown. This is probably the biggest one right here, with that Central Green Street area, which is basically all vacant land right now. The funeral home is not there anymore. The old carpet store, computer store is not there anymore. The bank has been torn down. So these are all prime redevelopment sites, most of which the city controls at this point. We own all of this, and we just recently purchased the funeral home site, again with the intent of redevelopment.
A lot of that's parking though right now.
Yes.
Currently across, yeah.
Yep. This is just an example that was put in that 2002 plan of what that downtown Green Street area could look like, and what the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant site could look like. You're trying to bring in this example, it was a apartment building and some townhomes, but then also some public space. I think one of the big things to talk about though is what we've done so far. The Riverwalk Place townhomes, if you've been down there along the Riverwalk especially, there's 20 townhomes that was really the backbone of what of starting things off. The city's spent approximately $730,000 to make that project a reality. Again, we put in some, you can see the improvements that we did, but there were some water mains, some sidewalks, seawall, and then boat slips that we also worked with them on. A couple other projects that had one in particular had good notability is the old E.B. Brown distribution center that was turned into the Verlo mattress factory. So where you just had a building that was just distribution for trucks and things, now you have a viable retail right in that 120 corridor right there. The old, behind the theater, where the theater's at, was the old Wall Appliance building. We purchased that site and tore that building down to make additional public parking, particularly for the Green Street area. The hospital was our biggest reach. That was one that was probably the most, had the most notoriety to it as well, because it was a big site. It was $1.3 million to buy the site and tear the hospital down and prep that land. That was one that it was right before that recession happened, that housing market that just kind of locked up and went south on us. We had purchased that and had a developer in mind, or we did an RFQ to identify 3 particular developers. They came in and made a pitch. We selected one, and during the process of building that is right when kind of the bottom fell out. We transitioned that from, worked with another developer who had sold that to, transitioned that from condos to apartments, to high-end apartments. There's 27 units and all those apartments are filled. The retail is, like any retail, it flows. It's probably 75% full right now, however, and Buddy's is the core tenant right there. 1202 Riverside Drive was the old Dobbins house, the Miller Point property. Joey T's, that was the restaurant. Somebody tried to break in there and steal the safe and then burn it down. It sat in the family's hands. We worked with the Miller family, and we purchased that for $550, and then, or excuse me, $550,000, and then did a number of improvements. Public piers, it's a great spot for public to be able to pull in there with their boats. It's just not a lot of access off the waterway, so that was a great spot for us, and it's really turned into a gem for things like Light the Night and Shamrocks the Fox, those type of festivals. The Riverwalk obviously has been a huge part of what we've done down there. The first phase was about $2.8 million, connected Green Street and Riverside Drive through a pedestrian-friendly path, which we never really had. You could walk down 120, but the change in what we've done to be able to connect those and add a new pedestrian bridge, and then subsequent phases that have now, we just completed our latest phase, which was 3B, and that's behind John and behind After the Fox. Our goal is right now we're doing engineering on the portion behind Bimbo's, so that you can walk all the way along the Riverwalk from Weber Park all the way to Green Street. We're hoping that we'll be able to complete the engineering on that particular section this winter and go out to bid next spring with construction starting later in the year to be able to make that, to complete that path. In all, it's been almost $7.4 million that the city's invested within our downtown either through public projects, through redevelopment projects, or through the Riverwalk itself. But there's still a lot that we have to do, and that's why I'm before you, is that there's a Riverwalk to be completed. The section that we have coming up, we estimate to be about $2 million, and then there's the portion that's adjacent to Landmark School. We hope to bring back, we're in control of the section of the old historic Pearl Street Bridge. Used to be the 1-lane crossing right there. We have a section of that we are hoping to put back in as a pedestrian bridge and tie in that centralized parking to across the street by Landmark School. That section, again, will also probably be about $2 million. That's this section right here. We'll add additional piers, just new brick paver walkways and public improvements. Other things, another huge project that we're undertaking that would be a key factor for us is the downtown streetscape. On each of the streets, we've completed a plan that completely upgrades our lighting, our sidewalks, our roadways. We adopted that plan last year, December 2021. It does cover all of downtown, including portions of Main Street. Main Street was part of this to make for the continuity, but I will say that Main Street is not a part of the TIF district on the map that you saw. So the dollars that are in the TIF district wouldn't be applicable and be able to go to the streetscape improvements. The last time we did anything at all with our downtown areas were the 80s and 90s, and most of those improvements were done in-house. It has certainly shown its age. We still have a number of the stone aggregate poles, even along Route 120. One or two of them just got hit this last year, unfortunately. But we look at transitioning, so it's not just the Riverwalk, it's not just development, it's changing the whole face of our downtown and giving it that feel, that look that's going to take us for years and years to come. This is the Riverside Drive portion. As you look at it here, we do transition Riverside Drive between 120 and Pearl Street to a one-way. That was something that we took took a look at to be able to widen the sidewalks. You know, on, like the dining on the sidewalks is something that really became popular, especially during COVID, where you can eat outside and sit outside. And by widening the sidewalks, it gives restaurants the ability to do that more. Some of the ones that don't have the options, especially for the outside dining. Here's Green Street. The big change for us again is we did widen the sidewalks, but the transition to more of a parallel parking throughout the whole street. There's parallel parking in front of Buddy's and River Place building right now, but in order to widen the street and give us some more room, we transitioned to that. We actually were able to keep the same amount of spaces. And then Main Street was the last part of that. Again, that's not in the TIF district, but wanted to show you just as a complete package of what we're doing or what we're hoping to do with our streetscape project. There's other things that you don't see, and those are things like lift stations, sewer improvements within those downtown. Those public improvements are all things that the TIF dollars could go to. Power lines, burying some of those power lines that are just to make that a more reliable service. In particular, behind Riverside Drive is an area that we look at to bury those, as well as behind, if you know where the chamber offices is in Mchenry, there's a big conglomerate of power lines that run all through there, and so that would be another area that we'd probably look to as you work with developers to redo that and make sure that we're providing consistent power. Overall, there's over $25 million of improvements that we still would like to accomplish before the end of the TIF district, before it expires, which that's a lot to do in 2 years. So I realize there's no chance that we're going to make it that far in the next 2 years. But that's where development becomes that priority. And those sites that I talked about are sites like the Green Street Cafe, that centralized their area there, the central wastewater treatment, even the Cary Electric site, which is right next to the central wastewater treatment plant. The old City Hall downtown, right next to Landmark, has been one that we've consistently talked to that building owner about a plan to do something with, and what some options for him might be there. To give you an idea of the TIF balance that we've had, and this is one that you can close out a little bit. And I didn't put all the years in here, but you can see, I'm back 10 years. And so from 2012, we had a negative balance in our TIF district, all the way up until basically 2020. And that was really because of that 10 years. In 2007 was basically when the housing market took that huge turn, and you actually saw the EAVs go down. They had initially risen up and was performing well. We started to see some money coming into the TIF district, but then those markets crashed. EAVs went down actually below where we started, and it was almost like hitting the reset button and losing 10 years. In 2017 is when things started to pick back up again, and we started to see some development again, and then we ran into COVID, which certainly put the brakes on things a little bit for us downtown as well. But when you see, what I would like to point out, that just as you look at, this is the end, the end. There's two things when you look at the EAV and what it's done we started at about 14 million. And back in 2002, what was the EAV baseline? The starting point was about 14 million. And so you can see, we kind of hit that steady decline right until 2017, when the housing market started to come back. We were still able to do some projects, and part of that was because we bonded for the Riverwalk. And that was, like I said, a $2.8 million expenditure on the city's part. I think it's like $240,000 a year that we're paying to that. Again, a couple of things like when we would buy the hospital property, or we bought Miller Point. You see this negative balance all the way up until 2020. Or 1920, I think, was when we first saw our first positive balance. Now, these numbers play out as if we didn't do a single thing, if we didn't do another project, if we didn't do another public improvement at all. I can tell you right now that we've spent this basically down to zero. This is where we're at right here. And through the Riverwalk, that project was $600,000 this last phase. Now there'll be more money coming in next year again that will be able to add additional improvements. But if we didn't do a single thing, if we didn't have another development downtown, or somebody that was asking for something, if we didn't do a river walk, a sidewalk, anything at all, when it expired, we have $3.7 million in the bank. It's not our goal to have any money in the bank. I'll tell you that right now. Yes, sir.
How does the Riverwalk Foundation fit into this?
The Riverwalk Foundation is a separate, they're their own separate
Right.
entity. They raise money. There's two phases. They actually spent $1 million building phases. They built the phase on Miller Point, as well as the phase by Dave Miller and Dream Marine. They paid completely for both of those.
Okay.
There was a small portion that we were able to contribute at that point, but we simply weren't in a position as a city to be able to spend the money because of the negative balance. We didn't have the money.
How about this last phase of Riverwalk?
The city, that was the very last one by you, was the city was able to pay for
City
that.
pay for that?
Yeah, that was all city dollars that came in and paid for that. But yeah, our goal is not to have a balance, to have a zero at the end. That we've done the public improvements, we've got the development that we hoped for, and we're able to move on. And then all those values are increased, and they come back to you. They come back to all the school districts. They come back to the library, the fire. All those then get the increased EAV. The taxes off that increased EAV, which if it expired right now, would be over double what it was when it started through the development process.
One more question, Bill.
Sure.
They just tore down that house across the street from me.
Yep.
That's part of the TIF district.
Yes.
That's city money that's,
Yes.
and they're gonna buy the two houses on the other side as well?
We are looking at buying the two houses on the other
Okay.
side. It's been a little bit more difficult, but I know it's something that we've talked about for downtown parking, especially up by you. We were able to add parking on the south side of Riverside Drive, or right across from where Joey T's used to be. We
Right.
doubled that lot through an expansion. But right by you, right there, we bought that specifically for parking and hope to be able to expand. But there's, property acquisition is always can be a little bit of a factor. Without an extension, things would kind of come to a screeching halt. There would be no streetscape that would happen. Developers, we don't have the incentives to be able to attract those developers, whether that's through, let's just say that downtown Green Street area. One of the things that we have to be able to offer is parking, public parking in particular. That will be accomplished through we partner with a developer. They build a parking garage that would meet the needs of whatever their development is, but also the needs of us as a downtown city, downtown, to be able to accommodate all the businesses that we have. And so those type of incentives, we just simply wouldn't be able to accomplish. What I did in the next slide is I tried to project then continuing on, if the extension did happen, what would happen in the next 12 years. And it just doesn't get us to exactly where we would like to be, but then you can see, and these are basically 5% projections. We just said, all right, let's increase this 5% every year. The CPI has been really high the last couple of years, but in other years it's been next to nothing. So when you look at some of our projections, it really is just basically a 5% increase on what that would be all the way through the end of the end of the life of it, which would mean an additional. Now this starts from the end of the 3.7, but it means an additional $15 million for us to be able to accomplish projects, and that's why it's key. It buys us that time. When we've worked with developers, we paid them over the life of it. There's some incentive that we have to do for parking, for sidewalks, for whatever that is. If we don't, sometimes they'll implement those for us, but we pay that over the life of we'll say we'll do the redevelopment agreement. It'll be, all right, over the next 10 years, we're going to give you $55,000. That was the type of agreement we used for the River Place, where Buddy's is at, that building. We just don't have that money to be able to give them a check right up front. Or sometimes it might be the value of land. That was one that we did give them as an incentive. We gave them the value of that land.
One question.
Sure.
So at the beginning you said that towards the middle actually, the remaining projects that you guys want to do total about 25 million.
Yes.
So there's a gap of 10 million according to that number. What are the plans to close that gap?
Well, that's what we'd have to figure out. Right now, I can say I don't have an answer for you, but I know we'd be able to at least do things like the streetscape on Riverside Drive and the streetscape on Green Street. We'd be able to finish the bulk of the Riverwalk.
So how do you prioritize what's most important if you have that budget to work with? And so
I would
where
tell
do
you.
decide?
Sorry. Go ahead.
But I say, where do you decide is the most valuable place to invest?
The most valuable place to invest is redevelopment. So Our whole goal is to attract developers. If we can attract those developers, now at the end, just like you'll have more tax dollars coming to you, we'll have more tax dollars coming to us that we never had. And while they won't go into a dedicated fund, they'll go into the general fund that we can then leverage, because we'll just have more taxes than we had before. So attracting developers is really the key. Sometimes the public improvements are a tertiary thing. Those are the things that are the lipstick, like they're great, and I say that in jest because the Riverwalk is a project that's near and dear to my heart and has been from the very start. So it's so much more than that, because it's viability and it's quality of life, and it ties these things together. It makes it attractive for people to be down there. It's that transition from to a Naperville type setting, where they have the Riverwalk and people in shops and things living downtown, people living downtown. So yeah, there definitely is a gap, but this helps us to head that way. And maybe it's something we have to do, a sales tax, something down the road, or some other funding mechanism. But this funding mechanism is one that helps us attract development, and that's really the key. So priority is redevelopment. And that's what we just talked about right there. The priorities with an extension are redevelopment. That's the whole point, is to get these parcels, the ones that I showed you, the central wastewater treatment plant, the central Green Street area, to get those redeveloped, to get those back on the tax rolls where they're not earning anything, to have, when you go from a 0 at the central wastewater treatment plant to, let's just, even if it was a 250 unit apartment building, half of what was presented there. I mean, that's a significant jump in taxes, which we all benefit from. Excuse me. The extension process, really, for us, we started this last year. So far we have letters of recommendation or letters of support from District 15, District 156, the Mchenry Township Fire Protection District, the Library District, and just this morning, the county passed through their committee of the whole, has to pass their full county board, but their committee of the whole, a resolution for support as well. These letters of support are put together with a package that goes to our state senator that then takes these and basically they put all these bills together at the state legislature. This will happen next, between January and April, the next legislative session in Springfield. The extension happens through legislation that they undertake. But we need a letter of support from each of the taxing bodies that says, basically, that we support what they're doing. We believe in what they're doing. We're headed in the right direction, or feel like they're being good stewards of what we started back in 2002 through your initial approval. And so that's the process. We're not asking to change any boundaries. Nothing changes within the TIF district. We're only asking, and we can only ask for a one-time extension of 12 years. We can't come back and say, all right, after 12 years, no, we want another 10 years. This is a one-time request of 12 years for this TIF district. And it really comes back, again, it comes back to that 10 years right in the middle that really hurt us when we just couldn't gain any traction.
So it comes back to the township as increased taxes? Is that what you're saying?
In 2037
Right.
is when it would come back to the township. And I will tell you, one of the questions that I would expect that you would ask is, all right, what are we losing per year right now?
Right.
Starting in 2003, obviously that was probably like a couple hundred that you were losing in 2003. 2019, I think, was the last time that that I had our finance director run the rates or have all the tax rates and everything in hand, and I believe that was $7,000, a little bit over $7,000. So if you imagine going from 0 to $7,000 every year, that has climbed up, is what you've lost. I know not.
So we're saying that 2019, the township lost $7,000 in taxes you would have recovered?
Yes, that you would have had. You would have had $7,000 additional dollars. And probably in 2018, you would have had probably, 6.
Yeah, no,
5. So
right.
that's I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm telling you exactly what it is, but I'm telling you that for us to be able to continue this process and again continue to grow that EAV so that in 2037 it's not 7,000, it's 14,000 or 15,000 that you receive, or maybe higher than that. It all depend on redevelopment and how we.
But couldn't you see that the properties just around the TIF district would go up in value? And we'd get.
I think that they will.
So we should collect more taxes from the properties around the TIF district, is
Right.
where I'm going.
As we do redevelopment, and if you're touching that, and you have a nicer project there, it certainly should increase that. And I think that we've seen that, especially in the neighborhood right by Vets Park, or right adjacent to the Riverwalk. That those older homes have become that premium, and people love to be able to walk downtown. And where it was a nice neighborhood, but now you're seeing redevelopment of homes there that people are really investing into, and it's become a nice market for our community, actually. Other questions? It can be a little tricky, and I kind of went through it, hopefully not too fast.
Are they doing anything to entice other businesses downtown?
We continually try to do that, whether it's facade grants. We're constantly, especially Mayor Jett,
Right.
he's reaching out to a number of businesses to try to be able to bring them downtown. Retail is something that we struggle with a little bit. It's been a difficult road for us. We certainly have become more of an entertainment district, which is nice, but hopefully that leads to more of the retail. You do have a couple nice shops on each street, but we'd like to see some more retail. It's the second hardest thing to attract, is what I'm told. There's the big box is the hardest to get because there's only such a limited pool, and then those downtown shops are probably the second hardest to get. But those are things that if we can continue to make a spot for them, that you'll see more retail options like a downtown Crystal Lake. They have quite a few retail options down there.
So I'm just thinking of the numbers in my head, and you said that $7,000 is what we would have lost or gained with this TIF district since 2002, on average, roughly.
Sure.
So you're looking at, what was the number? If you ran it over the whole 37 years, just trying to put the money into a perspective,
Sure.
$259,000. So
Here, I'll tell you. This is up to 2019. Again, I stand before you and I'm asking for your support, but there's nothing that I'm trying to hide in the very least. From 2002 to 2019, $105,000 is what you have foregone up to this point. But again, that also means that we're doing the right things. The redevelopment is happening, and we're doing exactly what we said it would do. We're gaining tax dollars, hopefully at a higher rate than they would have. There's probably going to be some redevelopment that happens naturally, but for us to be able to encourage that redevelopment, we feel like we've made some much larger gains that you'll pay the dividends of.
what's your deadline for the letter?
Honestly, I'd like it as soon as possible.
Okay.
And that's the old adage, as soon as possible. But they are starting that process right now down in Springfield. We've been in touch with Senator Wilcox's office that they're putting the packages together, the letters together, to be able to get this onto an agenda. And they go on, not us singularly, but anybody that asks for a TIF extension. I think last year there were 6 of them that were bundled together and passed. But having the documentation behind it is something that certainly helps that case.
Just for argument's sake, let's say that we don't give you the approval. Will your process go through still, or does it hang it up?
It could hang it up,
Okay.
from what I'm told, is that it certainly could hang it up.
Just a question.
Yeah, no, any other questions?
I know you probably can't say, but where would that guidance be coming from?
For what?
That it would hang it up.
That would come from the senator's office. The people that are putting it, Senator Wilcox, and who's putting together that bill. If they feel it's an incomplete submittal, that they could certainly hang that up. I think that's probably what happened last year. We did start the we have to have time on our side. We have, again, it expires in 2025. We started these conversations last year. I think in September was the first week. District 15 was the first one we approached, and had the 4 letters for last year's submittal, but I felt like it was incomplete. And so again, we're trying to gain everybody prior to this year's legislative session. But I am told that they're starting to put a little bit earlier than I expected, they're starting to put those letters together into a package and put that omnibus bill together.
So all the taxing bodies within the TIF area are 156, Township Fire, Library, and then you just got support from the county, from the Committee of the Whole. And then, so you're just waiting for board approval at
Correct.
the county level?
Correct.
And when did they
Yeah,
say
they
they were
drafted
gonna
the
put that?
resolution already, and it's ready to go. It was put on Tuesday night, it'll be put on their consent agenda. It was not pulled off of the Committee of the Whole for discussion at all this morning, and I had a unanimous recommendation from the Finance and Audit Committee last week.
So next Tuesday night, we'll know
Yes.
one way or another.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these are all the MCC, the city, the county
MCC.
conservation district, the county itself, the fire district, the library district, obviously the township, and the town bridges, 15 and 156. Those
So,
are all the tax authorities.
Have you approached Mr. Condon?
I have not approached him up to this point. I wanted to talk to you first, and then I'll talk to Jim, but I'll start with you guys.
Okay.
Any other questions or anything I can, if there's another question I need to get back to you, I can do that as well. Otherwise, thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Oh, thanks for coming out.
Appreciate you making the phone call and reaching out, and thank you very much for the education. We appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll have some discussion on it.
Okay,
Sir, do you have a card?
I do.
Let me just change this up on my email on here. We redid our emails and I don't have those cards yet.
Put that back on the December agenda. I didn't think fully what was put on there.
How's everything?
One of the things. Thank you. Yeah. One of the things I did is I went out and pulled some information from the meeting minutes and all that other stuff to find all that. No, this is the city's meeting minutes. This started back with Don Shaker.
Yeah, okay.
So that's
Yeah,
when,
right.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. If we're ready to move on, we'll go back to 3.0, approval of the regular board meeting minutes from October 13th. I have a motion for discussion, possible action.
Well, we already talked about the one correction, the golf cart.
Okay, you got that one. Yeah, the golf cart's owned by Junior Warriors and not the township.
Where is that?
Page 2, wait. That's in there, so 1, 2, 3, 4, page 5, under 8.1, ADA access to the football field. I'd just go back and watch the video real quick and just change the sentence or something that it's owned by the Junior Warriors.
Let's see where I have that old guy
Supervisor mentioned that we have a golf cart for use if needed.
anyway. Right.
It implies that it's owned by us. And I'd like to have the record indicate that it's owned by the Junior Warriors. No, that's what it needs to say. Then also, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, if you'd change that, do we have a, well, actually, I need a motion. So you made a motion, right?
Correct.
Mark made a second. We provided the corrections. So the motion is that you will approve the meeting minutes
With the
based
correction.
with the correction. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on. 4.0, approval for receipts and bills for the town fund.
So I'll make a motion for approval of receipts and bills from the town fund. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have on this 10th day of November 2022 examined and audited the amounts due for items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize the payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, $0. Total bills to be approved, $10,678.60. Total bills paid prior to audit, $29,787.89. Total to be approved is $40,466.49. Total receipts of $22,747.31.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can we get a roll call since we're spending
Is it
money?
voice vote?
Yeah,
Okay, roll call. Supervisor Barba,
yes.
trustees McCredo,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Shaver,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
So 5.0, motion for approval and bills of the general road and bridge fund.
I make a motion that we approve these bills. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have on this 10th day of November 2022 examined and audited the amounts due for items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payments of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $24,505.08. Total bills paid prior to audit, $17,226.51. Total to be approved, $41,731.59. Total receipts, $150,855 even.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Voice vote. Supervisor Barba,
Yes. All right.
trustees McCredo,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Shaver,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, last one, 6.0, motion for approval and receipts of bills from permanent hard road.
I'll make the motion for approval of the receipts and bills for permanent hard road. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 10th day of November 2022 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payment of the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, none. Total bills to be approved, $23,636.56. Total bills to be paid prior to audit, $24,105.06. Total to be approved, $47,741.62. Total receipts, $23,402.01.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Adam.
Voice vote. Supervisor Barba,
Yes.
trustees McCredo,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Shaver,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, next on the list, 7.0 is a fund transfer. There is no fund transfer at this time. And after that is 8.1, which is to review the levy process and set a date and time for the hearing. I'll make the motion for discussion and possible action.
I'll second the motion.
And you guys, in your packets, have all received a couple scenarios regarding the levy. There's 3 options there, and I guess what, my recommendation is to hold it flat. I don't believe that black box is the right thing to do at this moment in time. I would prefer to hold it flat. And we'll figure out how to make ends meet as we go along here while continuing our services, and we'll grow what we can.
I'm in total agreement with that thought process. I mean, now's not the time to raise taxes. It's just not. If there's a way we can reduce
100%.
taxes, I'd like to see us do it.
I agree 100%. Now is not the time to raise taxes.
Any other comment? Nope, okay. Debbie, do you have some dates for the,
Okay, so, my suggestion is gonna be that on December 8th, prior to our regular board meeting. We just do it at 15 minutes prior. So we'll do one at 6:30 and one at 6:45, if you guys are okay with that. And then you'll have your regular board meeting at 7.
So
I don't
I'll,
think you need more than 15 minutes.
Do we need a motion to accept option A?
no, we'll do that at the hearing.
Just to be asking a question.
I think we'll do that at the hearing.
Right, because you'll put the ordinance together, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
based on the input from tonight, we'll put the ordinance together
What
for that
what
meeting.
you're gonna do now is just make a motion to accept option A.
Okay.
We'll put the ordinance together, you'll accept it.
I'll make a
at
motion
the
to accept
meeting
option
that'll
A.
be on-
Second.
Yes, on December 8th.
That's what I'm saying.
There's already the motion.
Yeah, so what I will do is amend my motion to accept option A and to have the regular hearing on December 8th prior to the regular board meeting.
I'll
Right.
second that.
You'll do the town at 6:30,
Town at 6:30.
town and GA, general road and bridge and PHR at 6:45.
So we accept Jim's as he's presented it, right? Is that the way it works?
Pardon me?
Well, Jim already presented his, we didn't present it, but we're assuming it's gonna be flat.
He'll have
It
his,
is
right,
flat.
exactly.
Okay.
Jim is keeping his
Yeah,
flat
the number that
also.
he,
He'll have all of his paperwork ready for the
the
meeting.
number that he reported in his report is flat.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's not,
I'm good.
He's not increasing or looking for an increase.
Correct.
no.
okay, so that's done. Well, I need, all those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's set. Is there any old business we wish to discuss?
The only thing I could think of was the park equipment.
Okay, park equipment,
And bus service.
okay. So, I'll just give you a real quick update on the park equipment. Reached out to the operations folks. The last meeting, we didn't hear from the actual manufacturer of the current equipment. So I've reached out to Eric to make sure that he contacts Torma, to have a Torma insurance inspector for safety come out and inspect the park equipment and give us the thumbs up that it's still safe to operate. And then I've also asked him to contact, I think it's Landscape Structures, and they're at playlis.com is their website. They're the manufacturers of our equipment, so we'd like to have somebody come out from their organization and take a look at all the platforms that are of concern and see if there is maybe a way to rehab it versus having to buy new park equipment. So that is in motion.
That sounds like maybe why there was confusion, because Play Illinois was the vendor that came and presented, and that's really close to that name of the equipment, but they're not the same.
No, they are two different companies.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's under, the only other thing,
Well, confusion that for equipment on equipment. I really like the idea of saving the poles.
yeah, I do too.
If they're structured, yeah, if they're structured.
It's just structurally fine. I mean, you seem to be looking at them like,
So looking at the websites today and reviewing the warranty policies, the poles get a 100-year warranty.
where do you go?
So I'm assuming that our poles are probably good, they're 25, 30 years old. That now it's just a matter of whether they can fabricate or it fits the current stuff using our poles. So I think this is gonna be more of a rehab project than it would be a new piece of playground equipment. You also want to talk about, let's stick on park for a minute. With the change in the ordinance that we passed last meeting, I need to get with Eric and the team to review all signs in the park that list our hours and have it updated. So it reads 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. There's a few that are outdated out there, so we need to update those.
Does that go on with the parks in the community as well? The park on Lake Street and Fox Lake Road?
Yeah, it's all, that ordinance covers all of our parks.
Yeah, it covers
Yep.
all of
I'm
them.
just making sure.
Yes.
Yep, covers all our parks. So that's one thing that I've got to get on the agenda and have them take an inventory and look at what can be fixed, saved, or replaced. Then also the second thing, as long as we're on parks, is you guys have requested a sign, so I'll come up with a sign in regards to for next spring that will be placed at the edge of the parking lot, indicating if somebody needs assistance getting to the ball fields, they're to contact the host organization. And then I'll also have Eric get in touch of all the organizations and make sure that they are aware that if somebody needs to get to the soccer field, they can use a vehicle to get out to the soccer field as long as it's not 6 inches of water out there. So
Well, actually-
we'll communicate that message.
I actually went back there and looked, and there's a sidewalk that goes more than halfway out towards like the football field. It wasn't the football field
Yeah,
specifically.
soccer field's on the other side.
So like, but the football field was the issue. That sidewalk was nearly halfway there.
It goes to the edge of the soccer field and yeah.
Couldn't we just keep extending it in the same direction that it's going?
Absolutely, we can put that in the plan.
Yeah.
If there's money's in the budget, why not?
That would,
Yeah.
that would have, sounds like that would have helped.
2025?
Yeah,
I
if
think
the
that's
money's in the budget.
gonna be a little.
We just agreed not to raise taxes.
Just look at it.
Budget's next.
No,
We're on the budget next.
It's on the list, I promise, it's in here, it's on the list to try to
That's a good
accomplish
idea.
while we're here.
Spend it.
The only other thing, before we get to the buses, real quick, is, just to make sure you guys are aware, when it comes to old items, is, the food pantry edition, when they approached us last year, had another conversation with them, they're moving forward with their design, so just want to give you a heads up there. And then also, when we started at this all together, I told you that I'd like to fire a Blue Star banner program back up for our vets, or it's not for our veterans, but it's for our active duty. I've been working with Jan Welch behind the scenes to where we're gonna kick that off in 2023 again. I have some contacts with some active members of the military, and hopefully we can gain some lists that we can begin to reach out to those in our area in the township and have them come in and their family members be recognized that they're doing active service. So those are the, and then bus. You want to talk about the bus?
Yes, sir. So I think we had some conversation about that, but ultimately, we need to find a way to make sure that we are optimizing the bus service. And in a prior meeting, it was discovered that there is no current routing system and that someone is manually doing this. So has there been any follow-up into sort of attempting to make that process more efficient?
Yes.
That's obviously one of the areas we've experienced some loss, some turnover, some challenge.
And that's, yes, there has been, thank you, have a good evening. Trustee McCready and myself attended the PTAC meeting over at the Transportation Center for the county. And a fellow township trustee who's here this evening was there also. We're gonna reach out to the PACE folks and fire up the conversation, look back at the history and understand what used to happen and what they have available today. Because what they have available today, I was under the impression in that quick conversation we had, is different than what we were using before. So, yes, it's going to be ongoing.
There was a time when we had in-house, originally started, Debbie was actually the original dispatcher, if I'm not mistaken. And then it went to PACE, and I don't know when PACE, how we took it over again. Continue conversation.
Sounded like it was our former colleagues that probably.
No,
No.
no, that is not,
No.
no, that's not the case.
It's not the case.
So we stopped using PACE for dispatch it's probably been 5 years now. So we used to pay to have their service, and there was some problems with their dispatching and then actually putting it into play with our drivers. So we were having to redo it anyways. They were kind enough to let us, we're still using that software. They're just not doing the dispatching and placing it for us. We're doing it ourselves manually. And that system they have to still figure it out themselves manually instead of it automatically doing what it needs to do. So we are looking at different software for us to do it. When I did it, I used Excel and did it myself manually.
Yeah, we're continuing.
So it is definitely.
The gentleman from PACE seemed to think there was a different dispatch program out there now we could use. I forget what he called it.
We are looking at it.
I mean, the main reason I asked my profession, my company is mainly a logistics company, and our software
Oh, you can know where the
Yeah.
trucks are parked and for how long?
I
You
mean,
know.
we know where the drivers are at, how long that's how we track
Sure.
that where we're supposed to be,
Correct.
when we're supposed to be. But it also automatically tells them what's the best way to go
To the next
to the
place.
next stop and where they're going, so it
Exactly.
just seems like that could, that could make us
And
able
I might
to.
want your input at what I'm looking at and what we've done the research on already. When that
Well-
time comes, we'll bring it to you and,
All the school buses use software at the beginning of the year to route their buses and get the most efficient
Yeah.
route to,
But
once
that's
they
like
know where all
one-
the kids live.
Yeah, but that's one time planning, they're going to the same stops. I mean, we have someone that calls in, needs to go somewhere, or 3 people that call in.
Yeah.
There should be a way to make sure we're,
right, we're doing it the most effective way. Because if you look at it, I'm like, there's always, everybody sees something different.
One thing that has happened is Lauren has helped out and she's communicated with some of the locations that have multiple riders during the day.
yeah.
And they're bunching them together to ask them if
Yeah.
they'll ride at the same place at the same
Well,
time.
we'd talk about that, or like having
Yeah.
specific days that we get a group of people to go to a store at a specific time, like ahead of time
And
schedule.
what Richmond
Right,
is
and
doing.
that
Richmond-
is
sorry,
great
Deb.
for the average person. The problem you have is that you're dealing with seniors that are all on different schedules.
Yeah.
And that may not work for one where it works for another, but it could work for a group of them, which
Yeah.
will eliminate a ton.
What Richmond was doing, if I'm not mistaken, Gary will correct me, Myers was one day, Jewel was another day,
Yeah.
doctors, and the doctors is a different thing.
Totally,
But we're
yeah.
talking about the shopping days.
Yeah.
They seem to have certain days for certain stores.
And you can even contact the store to see if there's a specific time you can get that group of people in there
Yeah.
before
Correct.
everybody else.
Correct,
and
correct.
Then it's attractive to say, hey, go at this time. It'll just be you. You won't have to deal with
Correct.
everybody else.
Right, and you can keep track of them easier and not losing them, which is always a fun thing. When they're wandering the store, oh, really, it's
Is
been
that a
that long?
statistic we have to keep track of now?
Me?
No.
I'm leaving now.
Lost riders?
We went with 10 that only came back with
Yes.
8.
Yeah, right.
And the good news is, though, you'll save money,
Yeah.
because you'll be giving 2 less rides out.
Exactly.
Actually, Richmond's program is even a little bit different than ours. They stay with their riders until they're done in some instances.
Correct.
Well, that avoids the trip back and forth to come back here or wherever.
It
they go
does,
back.
but depending upon how many people you're dealing with and how many rides you have to do, sometimes it's better to drop and have a different driver picking them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how it works.
Yeah, the root of my question was just, I was under the impression that we didn't have a piece of software that did the routing, that's been confirmed that like
We-
someone is manually figuring out how to
We do
appropriately.
have it,
Yeah.
but we have to figure out how to put it into the system to just print it out.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, so going into another year where we're not raising a levy, it's a way to save money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
And we'll continue to look at it and revise it and make it better.
We should get another grant this year than we have this year. We lost a grant last year. We should recover it this year.
No, well,
Well,
there's no
the Chinese
guarantees.
that were-
The only thing that I understand is there's no guarantee in the grant.
I said, it's a
Well,
grant.
right.
So we have to
We're gonna-
write the-
We are
yeah, we
gonna
are
apply
gonna-
for the one from northeastern
East
Illinois
Illinois, yeah.
area on aging.
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll get it or how much we'll get. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Is there anything we could do about the fact that the hospital stopped their bus service, and so part of
No.
our influx has been the hospital customers?
We can go and ask them for a grant.
Send a letter to the editor.
We can, Northwestern's not really gonna care.
Yeah, they probably stopped
There's
it.
no reason that we couldn't reach out to them
Yeah.
and talk to them.
Yeah.
Northwest.
I wish they would have done that with us before they did what
stopped
they
it.
did. Yeah,
We might be able to get a grant from
we
them.
had better communication with, Northern Illinois. I almost
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
what they were called.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to say McHenry.
Northeast Illinois?
It's Integra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like to know what they're doing with all their buses that are sitting. There's a ton of them sitting over there.
Maybe that's a way that they could assist and then not pay us, but just let us use the buses for free.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
No,
That'd
it's
save us
free.
$3,600. I'm all in.
Okay. I guess that takes care of old business. 10.0 is proposed agenda items for next meeting? Well, obviously, it's going to be the levy. Well, that's not our, those are meetings beforehand, so that's not really that.
Right.
Okay, so there anything for the next meeting that comes to mind?
You're gonna wanna put on,
Oh, I know what I'm going to want.
that TIF district, if you guys are gonna do that, you're gonna wanna put that
Yeah.
resolution together and have it for the next meeting.
Can't we have him send us a copy once we're in the lawyer room? That just came.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Perhaps we could get Senator Wilcox in here to tell us about the state legal process and will they get it without our approval? Will they get it?
Want me to call right now and ask him?
Anything we want to, I'm just saying, anything we want to know?
That's what you guys want to do. TIF district, so the TIF district is one. I'll report out on what we found out regarding transportation. And then I'd also like to put on here trustees reports out on the meeting.
On TOI,
Yeah,
annual meeting.
but
I ain't taking
what you,
minutes.
what
You ask
you
them
learn.
all to come back
I
with a
ain't
book
taking minutes.
report.
No, what you
I
learn.
ain't taking minutes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm unable to attend, or I just, they gotta be my eyes and ears, right? Just,
I would imagine TOI is gonna record it, so you go back and watch it anytime you want.
the individual breakout sessions.
Yeah.
No, they would not
You
do
don't.
that, they wouldn't. You guys would report back to the board what you've learned or what you found out or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so
what do we have on here?
we have, TIF district resolution. We have transportation update. And trustees TOI meeting reports. So 11.0, you guys have seen my report in the packet, and I've provided some
You know what I need,
information.
Gary?
Yes.
I'd like to get a report from our assessor. When are we gonna start seeing taxes on all these new buildings going up? When are we gonna see that money?
What new building?
The-
The houses?
Yeah,
We saw part of it. That's already, whatever, I'm gonna say, we've seen part of it, but until they get their occupancy, then
Then it goes into the following year.
Goes- yeah.
How many-
So as of January 1st, whoever was in occupancy,
Yeah.
you'll see for next year.
correct.
well, let's
Right.
hear an estimate from Mary on what she thinks that dollar amount will be.
Pardon me?
Mary should be able to give us an estimate of what that dollar amount would be for
Yeah,
us.
I had it. There's a growth factor
There is a growth factor
that came out from the county.
right on that tax extension
Yeah,
thing. I don't remember what it
Well, I'd
was.
like,
Mary would have the growth factor. It's
Yeah.
easy enough. You can email her.
yeah.
I'd like to report to the board.
Report to the board.
Okay,
That's an easy one.
so that'll go under proposed agenda items.
Yeah. Because we've been talking about the levy and
Yeah.
blah, blah, it's good to know the numbers.
Or, I guess the question would be is, so you've seen my report, so there is no, I don't believe there was an assessor's report this month.
Nope.
Yep. And then you saw the highway commissioner's report. Any questions on that? 14, any executive session? Nope. Any last minute board member comments? Please hold it to 3 minutes. Nobody laughed.
Adjourn.
I guess I'll make a comment. Gary, you brought up that the food pantry was looking for assistance. So I will attempt to try to see if we can get some sort of food drive scheduled. Contact a couple of those outside organizations to see if they want to do any sort of matching or
Yeah, there's,
fundraiser or whatever. But ultimately,
what I know is the food pantry will have more food than they want to know what to do with between November and December with all the donations.
yeah.
Just the organizations that I belong to, they're probably gonna give them at least 2 or 3 trucks full of food.
So has the time where they were short passed, you feel? Would that be an issue?
No, they're still short.
Are you talking about Wonder Lake?
Well, we're talking about food pantries in general, I think, but he's specifically talking about our food.
Whichever one you said was short.
We're gonna help out the food pantries already, the township is, as part of our obligation, legal obligation. We're gonna donate some money to both McHenry and Wonder Lake. Or,
Is there a reason in lieu of funds we can do food?
what do you mean?
Well, are they short on
Well,
money or
what
are they
we
short
do-
on food?
They're short on
They're short on-
funds to buy food.
Okay. So will
That's-
they
so they
accept
take-
donations of food if we say, what do you specifically need that you're short on? Can we
Yes,
attempt?
yes, they will. But what the township does is we do a donation to Northern Illinois Food Bank,
Yeah,
where they can get a full truckload for like $600, and it'll cover all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
that they have on their list that they can choose from.
Okay.
Much more cost effective than us going out and getting what they need.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's how we do it. It doesn't go to them, it goes directly to their accounts that they have at Northern Illinois Food Bank, and then they can check off what they need.
I do have one more item. I know everyone's not to like this idea. We probably should look at bringing back tinsel in township.
What is that?
We used to collect toys and get them out to the needy.
Sort of like Toys for Tots, but the township?
Yeah, they bring
sponsored.
Toys for Tots, they would bring us some toys, but we get a lot of donations. Debbie's not more familiar with that than I am. I know she's not happy with me for suggesting that, but
Yeah, the township did it for probably 10 years.
yeah. It
But
was a
the
great program.
schools now have it pretty much covered, and Salvation Army handles all of the kids that are 13 to 16 years of age, and all the school-age kids are helped through Toys for Tots.
I mean, that room was full of toys.
And there was-
The Rotary Sunrise Secret Santa takes care of all of it for all of McHenry.
The county has,
Johnsburg, everything.
yeah, the county has Shop with a Cop, McHenry has Shop with a Cop, Johnson has Shop with a Cop.
Every town has Shop with the Cop.
Yeah.
Woodstock has the Christmas. Right, Richmond
We would
does
have
Toys for
to
Tots.
figure out
can't
what
do it.
We might not be able to
organization.
do it in time for this year, right?
Yeah, but we'd have to figure out
Right.
what organization we want to partner with
Correct.
and what their need is.
Right. It might be too late for
I
this
can't
year.
think of the name
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, that's,
The township stopped because it got too big.
It was huge.
a lot of man hours, sounds like.
Pardon me?
So we still do the coat drive. We're gonna assist on the
Yes.
coat drive.
Yeah, from
So
St.
that-
John's.
Yeah, St. John's coat drive, so that's still going on.
It's the Knights of Columbus, actually.
Yeah,
When does that start, the coach drive? I just had somebody ask me about that.
I do not know the dates.
Is there anything on our website that has all of those different types of things going on where someone from the community can go and see all the things that we're doing
It's an
to
idea.
like know when to bring something in?
It will once I have the dates, yes. So I posted on our homepage.
Okay.
So it'll say, I think it's right below our, I think it's right below the heading or whatever, it'll say special events. So whatever's going on that month, I try to pop in whatever.
You
it
talking
might
just
be.
at the township?
So I just got the information on, there's gonna actually be like 4 things this month, because I just got the information for the
Update the website with everybody, all the other
applications and
organizations.
Christmas
I'm trying to
stuff
get
for
links to
our
those.
Salvation Army.
Yeah, that's not.
And I also got
It's just-
their Thanksgiving
Dude, it's
dinner
just-
Yeah, we're
flyer,
Yeah.
and I got the county's warming shelter flyer. So everybody's sending me all their stuff, and I just printed them out this evening,
I
so
think she's okay.
that'll all be getting
What she's
updated
doing.
on Monday.
Okay,
One other item, discussion on the McHenry Township newsletter. I'd like to add that to the agenda as well.
To
Start
the
doing the
proposed
newsletter.
agenda item.
Yeah, to discuss it, if we want to continue it at some point.
I think it's absolutely something we want to continue, but it's fund-based.
Well, okay.
In
I'm trying to
trying to,
plan for next
I
year.
think it's a budget
Yeah.
meeting discussion, but however you guys want to do it.
yeah,
That's a no-brainer.
Is this
Should
back
be.
in
Yes, please. Back into, proposed agenda item.
This is what?
Discussion regarding the future news, reinstating the newsletter.
Is there anywhere?
Not that I know of.
Is the township decided a Christmas party for the employees yet, or no?
Pardon me?
Christmas party for the township employees? Is that anywhere in the future, or
Yes,
Yes,
got a date yet, or?
December
No.
16th.
yes.
Okay.
He would know before I did, I don't know.
December 16th, it's actually going to be here.
I do know that, yeah, it's gonna be here at the township.
Yep. We will get all that information out here shortly. Just
So we'll
been,
do that on Tuesday or Wednesday.
yep,
She'll be down at TOI this week, so.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to end this meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
At 8:11.
You know, for 21 years, I lived like 2 blocks from here.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had little kids.
just going to turn the camera on.
Is there, and I thought at the